Aloha und herzlich willkommen zu Triathlon Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Triathlon Podcast. Today in English, as you recognize, we have an international guest today on the podcast. His name is Hans-Peter Mellerud, and he's the CEO of Zalaris. Hello, Hans-Peter.
Hi, Marco. Really nice being here today.
Yeah, I'm really honored because if people are really deep in the triathlon scene, they might recognize the company name of your company. Before we go into that topic, as almost in every interview, I ask the guests what's their personal background when it comes to sports. I mean, we know your name right now, but where do you come from? And what kind of sports were you into in your childhood?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm, I think you mentioned Norwegian. So growing up in Norway, skiing is, you're born with skis, right? So I've been very active. Luckily grew up in a neighborhood very close to the woods. So mainly just, we spend more or less all our grown up time in the woods playing, and also lucky to have a ski hill just in the neighborhood. So been spending more or less all my afternoons downhill skiing mostly, and some cross-country skiing, but that mainly came in later years. So I did all kinds of skiing and downhill, then moved into freestyle. This was in the 70s. So I founded the hometown freestyle club together with a friend of mine. And then as in Norway, you need to do military service. So after 2 years in an officer school and in special forces, like a Fallschirmjäger, I guess you call it in German, physical fitness was definitely one of the things that you were really brought into. So I basically, since after then, been running and also actually biking. I bought my first mountain bike in 1986, I think it was. Wow. And have been biking. That's been really my passion since then, and started doing long endurance mountain bike races I think that was around when I founded Zalaris, and ended up then with triathlon by coincidence in doing Norseman in 2018 was the first time. So a long history. I love being outdoors and I think that's a mandatory part. If you want to also do good in business, it's really helping a lot if you stay fit.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because many managers, they're just focusing on the business, but sometimes neglecting the body. And as there's popular saying, a healthy mind goes in a healthy body.
Absolutely. So I encourage everyone to, you don't need to do Norseman or some really long endurance race, but do something, stay active, do some walking, do something. I think that's really going to help you a lot to also perform in all your other life, events, including work.
Absolutely. Fully agree. So when was your first touch point with triathlon? I mean, you recognized, or you said that you went into VTT, mountain biking, you had a bike, but when did you recognize the first time the sport of triathlon?
I've of course heard about it for a long time, but I've always been aware of Norseman mainly. But that actually was one of the events that I thought was, even though I've done all of these also crazy things, I thought that's not something that I will actually be doing, because it just sounded so crazy with the swimming and everything. Mm-hmm. But then in 2017, it was a friend of mine, also an ex-military colleague. He got a spot, and we were so lucky to just join him on the last leg up the mountain, my son and I. And I looked at him, and actually saw another guy with just one leg coming up there. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I'm sure I can do it too. So I guess 2017 was the real awakening that, triathlon was something I wanted to test out. And And at that time, also by coincidence, I was chosen Entrepreneur of the Year in Norway in 2017. And the then sponsor, Isklar, was also an ex-alumni of that event.
Yeah.
And as part of the finals, he said, they had like these interviews, and they said something like, well, I see you're a pretty sporty guy, because I had been doing lots of mountain biking, like Cape Epic and Leadville and all kinds of stuff. If you win and I give you a slot for Norseman, will you take it? And I said, sure, I'll do it. Wow. And then one of these assistants came up to me right before the finals, and she said to me, are you sure you're going to do it if you win? Sure, I will. And I thought, oh, this is a good sign that I actually might win. So I won and got the slot for Norseman in 2017. And then, or for Norseman in 2018, that was. But at that year, that was my real introduction to Norseman. So
okay,
make it short.
But you didn't do any triathlon up front before Norseman?
No, I did not. And, that was the challenge, because I was going to do, again, Cape Epic that year too. And I was really focused on mountain biking. And sure. I hadn't been swimming since forever, and I really couldn't swim more than 25 meters without getting totally out of breath. I thought and I hadn't been really running much either because of the focus on biking the last 20 years. But I thought, well, you can just try, right? And I learned to swim at least halfway. At least I completed with style, I should say. I didn't make the black shirt that year, but I was still as happy as one can be, and appreciating just finishing in fairly okay style, I would say.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, because the swim part is most of the time the Achilles part of the body when it comes to age groupers. Yeah, that many of them, they start pretty late, don't have a respective technique, and to work on the technique is it's really necessary, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I found. It's the real challenge. But also, even though I must say, I won't say I hate it, it's a very strong word. It's the part that I dislike the most, but I think it's still also the challenge to actually make it to be better. That's also one of the fun things with a sport like triathlon, that you have all these technical parts of it that you can practice on, and you feel that you become better. So now, after the fifth year or so in Tri, I start to feel like I'm a little bit of a better swimmer, but it's still a far way to go, and I'll never be a good one, I think. But still, it's really tough, but it can be done. I'm the living proof of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And big respect, because one thing, or willing to do Norseman, which is it's really extreme triathlon, yeah. And it's not the easiest one for those of you who don't know what Norseman is. And you start pretty early in the morning, right? You jump from a ferry, from a boat, into the fjord without seeing anything really much. Have you been scared in 2018 when you jumped into the sea?
You jump out there at 5 o'clock in the morning from the ferry, and it's not dark, but it's semi-dark because the sun isn't up yet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm scared, but it's definitely one of the most unpleasant parts that I know about. And it's myself too. I consider myself a fairly robust guy that dare to do most crazy things. But to jump out there in that cold water, also I've been there a couple of times with very strong winds and waves as well. It's not something that is pleasant at all. And it's a good, something you really have to work on your mind to just do it. So, but it really feels thus much better when you are able to complete it.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Yeah. You mentioned also Cape Epic. It's I mean, that's a couple of, how many days do you ride?
It's 8 days, about, 650K or so in South Africa.
Right, yeah. And so, I mean, I guess from that experience, you learned already a lot about your mind, how much you are capable of, because I would say in a race like that, at least 70% is just decided by what's going on in your mind, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think again, as I mentioned initially, I think particularly my military service at the time in the early 80s, it was really the mantra of the also special forces at the time was everything is possible, even the impossible. It just takes a little longer time. So it really means you have so much power in your mind and will to do things if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
And my experience is that if you think you can't do more, you have at least the same, you can do the same distance as you have done today to that time. So you have some incredible powers in your mind if you just want to activate it. So, and that's the challenge for most people, that if it starts to feel bad, you want to give up. And of course, I want to. But then you have to overcome this little devil that sits on your shoulder and say, oh, isn't it nice to just sit down and give up now? And you have to just say, no, I will continue. So it is... and that's the same with Norseman. The cool thing with Norseman too, you see lots of different... categories of people, from the real pros to more leisure guys like myself that actually might not have done that many triathlons before, but they have got a ticket and they just do it. And some of the ones that I respect the most, and I think you mentioned why did we want to actually engage with Norseman, is when you see these ones that have been out there for maybe finishing it in 21 hours, and they come in like late at night after the finishing buffet and everything is there. And the Norseman crew, I should say, with Bengt Olav Lund, he's the guy that runs the white shirt finish.
Yep.
He is just giving them the same attention and shouting and national anthems and everything as everyone else. And that's the real heroes, those that can stay out there for such a long time and not give up and then finish with style. So when I saw that my first time, I thought, oh, that's a really good example and a really good spirit that I want to be more part of.
Yeah, fully understand. Yeah. Because I would say, especially in this race, it's all about the finish. Yeah, it's not about personal best and record times and all that stuff. It's just to overcome and overcome fears. Like for me, for instance, I would be super scared jumping from a ferry into the dark sea, cold water, and then make it to the land. Yeah, and
absolutely. And I said, I'm not afraid, but I have had a couple of times almost panic attacks out there. You particularly like 2, 3, 4 minutes after the start, you go out and have heard that you should try to find some of the feet to swim to follow. Yeah. And I've tried that a couple of times and it fails miserably because I go out way too fast and feel that you're totally out of breath. And it's really not so nice. But again, if you can overcome it, then you feel much better afterwards. And most people do.
Sure.
And by the way, that's one of the things that I heard most. I thought that I was the only one, but I have learned since then that there are lots of people that are really scared being out there in the water. So just the one comforting thought is to know too that most other people feel it in the exact same way. So it's not just you. So don't worry about it. Just try to overcome it and you'll fix it.
Absolutely. I fully agree. in the first race which you did, Norseman 2018. So how was the bike part for you? Was it kind of piece of cake if you do?
Yeah, the bike part. And to be frank, the bike part in Norseman is absolutely phenomenal. You know, it is a fantastic scenery. It's a fantastic ride. And you have some speeds that are just unimaginable, and you have crowds cheering you on, and other common participants cheering you on. So, and I also, in a way, that since biking is definitely my strength, you know, I always come up almost at the end out of the water, like out of the 250 starters, I would typically be maybe 230, 240 out of the water. But then I have managed to catch up with maybe at least 70, 80, 90 people on the bike. And that makes you feel really well when you pass that many people in a good speed. So that's
right.
So at least that part of it, that's good. But honestly, it's the nature. If you have time, and you should, on races like that, you should take your time to lift your head and also take a look, because it's so cool. It's so nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know from a series which I did last year with a German age grouper who took part in Norseman. Erik, it's his name. Yep. And he was telling also the nature is so breathtaking. Yeah? And it's amazing. And it's hard to describe. You need to experience it directly.
Yes, absolutely. I suggest you all sign up for the lottery, and if you have a chance, just go and do it. And by the way, I think a lot of these Xtreme events, they all have breathtaking scenery. So it seems I'll do Keltman now in mid-June, 17th of June, I think it is.
Okay.
And I think that also seems like it's going to be quite some spectacular scenery. So that will be the test for Norseman, how that feels.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. What's the race again?
It's called Keltman. It's in
Keltman,
north of Scotland, by the coast there. So it's supposed to be also not so nice, but it looks really nice.
And that's your preparation for this year's Norseman Award?
Yeah, actually this year I will not do Norseman. I will I have been thinking that I have been combining the sports part during summer, having vacation with my kids and family, and some working fairly well. But I realize as well that when you are in this, say, preparation mindset for a race like that, you're not very flexible to adapt to families' needs. Like, do we want to do something different today? And I think every time plans change, I think, so how can I fit my biking, running, and swimming into it? And this year I want the summer without having to think that, and just be with them and be try to be nicer.
Fully understand as a family father. I have the same situation here, and fully agree. But again, coming back to 2018. So you hopped from a bike, went into T2, transitioned to, and then got into the run shoes and made the run. How was the run in your case?
Horrible. I think running is the worst thing. It's the pain from the first footstep. It just feels, it's still today, it's a little bit better now, but at the time it was absolutely horrible. So my goal was just to run the whole until you hit Zombie Hill. That's like 25k. So I thought about it as a 25k run. Which I had, of course, done sometimes, and then I'm not stopping. So 25k and not starting to walk.
Okay. And
then that was the price, just get to the bottom of the hill, and then I could walk. So that's what I did. And so it worked pretty well, but it was lucky. I think it was a pretty hot day that year, and I managed to do it. I was still too slow to make the cutoff. I think I was maybe 10 you need to be 160 or better at the cutoff. I think I was about 170 or something. But when I hit it, I was still, I still felt good just being able to just finish the race.
Sure. I mean, you can be super proud, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And because I could imagine that your family, they were kind of astonished when you got the slot and told them, hey, I'm going to prepare for the Norseman.
Yeah, I think they thought, now he's doing another one of his crazy things. So just let him do it. That's what my wife thought, at least. She's been very lenient with letting me do it all. But so my sons were there and were cheering me on. So that was really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And on that day, did you have some moments where you were thinking, now I want to drop out of race?
No, that was... quitting is not an option. I think that's
good.
Yeah. That's I think it relates to everything that I do. I think it's really quitting is not an option. So it's right. That's something then you have to be carried out of there if that's what's
absolutely
gonna
sure.
happen. Yeah,
I like the mindset. Yeah. We mentioned already a couple of times Zalaris. Just out of curiosity, what is Zalaris doing? What's your business?
Yeah, so we in Zalaris, we deliver IT solutions and services to do support large companies with payroll and HR across borders. So basically, if you see some large companies, we can deliver multi-country or global payroll solutions to them that cover the whole world, and likewise solutions covering all human capital management, like recruiting, goals and performance, employee data maintenance, travel expense processing, time and attendance, and so on. Basically, all the IT solutions and services that you need to run a business. That's what we deliver to large customers.
Okay, well, and you are the CEO and founder of a company, right?
Yes.
When did you came up with the idea to found Zalaris?
Well, actually, I worked for a while in Heidelberg in the mid-90s, where I did something similar on a more local level in Germany. But then I moved on to Accenture, or at the time Anderson Consulting, also doing much of what we called outsourcing at the time. And in 2000, I actually were responsible for a project where there was a big need to deliver payroll for a company doing business across many countries. And I thought, as this was in the midst of the dot-com bubble or dot-com age in 2000, I thought that was a good opportunity to start my own company, delivering a service that at the time, there weren't many competitors. So I set up Zalaris, got financing from some investors, and started Zalaris in 2000 with a goal to develop, first of all, a Nordic company that could deliver one common payroll and HR solution across the Nordic, but had the idea that I would also expand to Germany, UK, Northern Europe, and also I weren't thinking about a global approach at the time, but that has moved on after a while. So today we have about a billion NOK, about 100 million euro revenue. We have 1,100 employees in 17 countries and can deliver services to more than 150 countries across the world, and have some really large, cool customers, including a lot of German ones as our customers.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. What kind of feeling is it to be responsible for so many people and to run a business like this?
Yeah, in a way, it's just the regular. It just one day takes another type of feeling. So I don't think about it that much. It's more natural, but I won't say overwhelming, but at times when you have time to think, if I'm out on a run or a long ride or something, I think, yeah, it's pretty cool to have made it. But it's also lots of responsibility, of course, for both the customers and employees and investors and everyone. So that's the challenge you're never really off. But that's why I also love the sports, because that's one of the ways that I can, if I want to, particularly I would say mountain biking and skiing and maybe swimming. It takes so much focus to do it that you must, your attention is drawn to something totally different than business. So it's really good way to relax your mind and think about something else. But business is always there. So also on the long rides, long runs and stuff, it's always there. And I do have some of my best ideas when I'm out there doing these long things by myself. Yeah.
But did you expect did you expect the business, the company like it did during the last years when you kicked it off in 2000?
To be honest, I thought I was going to make it a little faster. So if bigger and quicker, but so it's just, and I think that's also another reflection with everything. Things takes more time than what you think it's going to take. So again, you need to have somewhat patience and not give up. Because if you don't give up, and I've seen lots of companies that, both friends and others that started along me, and I think almost all of them have gone broke or been, they didn't end up in anything. But I think we've always been conscious, not spending so much money. Always, like I normally say, the warmest socks are the dry ones you have in your backpack. So you always need to, also that's the same with sports. You need to try to also have some reserve that you can, think about that you have this gel that you don't eat it, have one in spare in case you need it. It might help you more than the one you've already eaten.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same with business too. So always try to have some reserves for if things doesn't turn out that well, and have contingency plans if something bad happens. And that's the way you survive, and it's the same likewise with sports. I think.
Sure. Just if people are listening to this podcast and became curious about Zalaris, are you still hiring? Are you looking for people?
Absolutely. We're always looking for good people, particularly Germans or German speakers with SAP skills or want to learn SAP. We are just looking for you. And that's the easiest way to also win your ticket to Norseman, that you can join Team Zalaris or even work in some of our really cool locations that we have around the world now.
Okay. So sports is also part of working with Zalaris, or?
Yeah, well, I think we haven't used the potential to the max, but I'm definitely trying to lead by example, motivating others to do it. So, sure, we're very, I think, supportive of it. If you want to do it, you get the free kits if you show up with a picture that you actually use it. But we don't like to just produce stuff for people that don't use it. That's not good for the environment. But for people that want to use it, they get it for free. And we, of course, support whatever we can. Also, of course, outside Norseman, like with more local initiatives, if some of our, we have lots of engaged employees that are working hard on the local level with it, that being football clubs or handball or running or basketball, all kinds of stuff. And I think that's the key at the end of the day, that you do something that you like.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but also I could imagine that there are some colleagues who are meeting up over lunch break and have a run together, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, we've not been that good at it in the Oslo office where I am mainly, but we definitely try to do it. And we have these annual events, like in Norway, we have this relay event every year that we assembled office to do together and so on. But if it's one thing that I think I could do better is to even more active on that. But sometimes it's the limiter of your own capacity on how much time you can use on different things.
Okay. But we learned you're hiring, and I will put every link regarding Zalaris into the show notes of this podcast.
Yeah, that's good.
So that you out there can click directly on the link, like you're in LinkedIn, for instance. You have a LinkedIn page, you have a website. So if people are curious about joining Zalaris, so they can by simply clicking on the link in the show notes.
Yeah, you'll find me on all the social media and with my own name. So that's definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And okay, we learned you took part in the Norseman in 2018. When did you came up with the idea to become sponsor of the Norseman?
Yeah, well, after the fantastic experience winning the white shirt in 2018, I, of course, immediately, it took 5 minutes after completing the finishing line. Cool. And I thought, so how can I do this again? Yeah. Since it's really tough to get a ticket, I think last year it was 8,500 lottery tickets for 250 spots.
Crazy.
Then I thought it's probably easier if you're a sponsor. And so that was the real idea. So I contacted Doug Oliver, the then general manager of Norseman, and asked if there were open for some sponsors. And he said that, in fact, Isklar was about to hand in the towel after being sponsored for 10 years. So the title sponsorship would come up in a couple of years. And I thought about it that, being a Norwegian company exploring the world and Germany, which is a key focus area for us, UK as well. And we're also having a daughter company in France. Those are all real key triathlon scenes. And I saw also some of the Norseman videos. They had some tremendous views on YouTube.
Yep.
So I thought it must be a good a possibility to combine this fantastic the event that really displays also Norseman or Norway and some of the values that I really love the most. This endurance, aiming high, all of this, and the teamwork, how that we could build this. They really were really close to those of the Zalaris values. So we thought we could use this race to basically get our brand out in particularly Germany and the UK that we at the time were really focused on. So, and I thought, I'm not sure how much it has helped to date, but I think increasingly we are being known, and it definitely helps. And then we at the same time said that at being a sponsor, you have a certain number of sponsor starting slots. So instead of just giving them away, because I can tell you, as soon as people know you are the main sponsor, your mailbox is also full of, people like myself that would like to join, people that and it's an endless list.
Sure. So
I thought also, let's use it for something good. I had successfully also used like Cape Epic as a fundraising event inspired by some other friends of mine. And I thought, let's use this tickets, starting slots, as a way to generate attention to causes dear to us, like fighting cancer. So now we founded Team Zalaris Norseman and had our own recruiting campaign to get people on board, but then they had to commit to fundraise 7,500 euros each to win the ticket. And that has also really worked out super cool. We've had some fantastic athletes there, and they have fundraised and got lots of attention for fighting cancer, both in Norway, in the UK, where also in my second attempt in 2019, Lucy Gossage, who is also, she won, and I think she's a 13 times Ironman winner. Mm-hmm. She is also a cancer doctor in the UK, so we used the opportunity to also bridge them with the Norwegian or Norwegian
research
charity that were also working with the same thing. So I think we really feel that we have been able to use Norseman for some good, in addition to also brand ourselves with it. So that's like the long story.
Okay, wow, awesome. Yeah. I like the combination of sports with charity, and with donating or raising funds for the good. And so, how many people are joining or taking part in Team Zalaris this year? For instance?
Every year there are like five persons on the team.
Okay. Yeah. And we need to.
And this year again, I think we have so we have a mixed team with some UK people from the UK. We have people from Norway, of course, Denmark, from Poland. And because still we're in somewhat in this COVID aftermath, that some people that were not able to race during COVID, they have been able, Norseman was very helpful, letting them move their slots up for this year. So so I think this year we're 6-7 people on the team.
Okay. But these people within the team Zalaris, they're not only Zalaris employees, they're also, people like me, for instance, who applied for this slot, right?
Exactly. So, in fact, none of the participants this year will be Zalaris employees. They're all external employees.
Okay. So, all right. I mean, 2023 slots, the team is full already, but when does it start when is it a good point to apply for the team 24 maybe?
Yeah, so we'll actually start that pretty soon after Norseman this year to give people more time. I think prior years we typically done it after the lottery in November and announcing the team in January. Okay. But then to give people even better time to prepare, we will aim to do it a little bit earlier.
Sure. And where can people apply for? Do you have a special website for that, or?
Yeah, it's Norseman's been very helpful, also distributing or marketing it to the ones registered with them. But of course, on our website and in our communication, it's also being actively communicated.
Okay, so I'm going to put the link as well in the show notes because it's pretty important. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'll be happy to, as soon as I have more, I'll of course also inform you so you can. If you should tell all your listeners about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that's absolutely new for me. That because I was thinking Team Zalaris, okay, that's employees who are working for Zalaris, maybe globally. But if everybody is allowed to apply for, of course, raising funds as well to qualify for that, which is a good cause. Mm-hmm. And no, that's new for me.
Yeah. Okay. And this year we have two ones also from Germany.
All right.
One guy is Thorsten Neufeld, and the other is Liv Svenja Mann, that races for the second time.
Okay.
And again, I think I mentioned to you too. I mean, Liv Svenja, she's a real ninja fundraiser she's fundraised now this year, I think much more than 10,000 euros for Kids Heidelberg that supports kids with cancers. So that's the type of people that we have on board here, really both strong athletes, really committed, but also do fundraising. So it's also, for me, it's really inspiring to have these type of people around.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. If Svanja is listening to this podcast, I would like to invite her to the next episode, maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's really astonishing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good.
I mean, normally I would assume that sponsorship ideas are coming directly from a marketing department. Yeah. How did they react when you came up with the idea? Hey, let's be sponsor of the Norseman triathlon.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, that this is like also when you have a company like, say, an entrepreneur-led one like Zalaris. They are used to me having all kinds of wild ideas, and sometimes I get support for them. Other times I feel, oh, this isn't something.
Yeah.
So I think it took a little while before they catched onto it, but I think they all like it now. And it is actually really cool when we meet some often potential business partners. For example, the other day we are actually setting up a business in Chile now.
Okay.
And we are in the Teams meeting with a partner there, and it turned out to be an active Ironman. And these conversations you can have when you meet the fellow athletes, it's a totally different setup than if you don't have some of these common values. So anyway, I think they all like it now.
Cool, awesome. And how many times did you take part in the Norseman yet?
I've done it now four times. I have one white shirt and 2 black shirts.
Awesome. So, congratulations.
So 2019 was a really good year. Black shirt, likewise last year. Okay. But 21 was, I think I tried to set the record in the slowest swim. So then it was 10, 12 meters per second headwinds and like 1 meter waves when we jumped off the ferry. Okay. And I used 2 hours and 21 minutes on the swim. I think I've never swallowed that much water in my life, and I felt horrible. And they had a cutoff time of 2:15. And it didn't help being the CEO of the sponsor, sure, because then you were out of the race. So to be honest, that was probably the biggest down of my whole career, life, whatever. It's the first time ever, I think, that I've been picked out of something because I didn't manage it. I just kind of laugh about it now, but it was not a good thing, but I learned from it and came back stronger the year after.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's so much in sport which you can also transfer in business life, yeah. The experience of what you make, yeah.
Absolutely. So it is, but it's the same thing, if you can't just, if you fail, and you will eventually fail with something, don't let it drown you, literally. It's try to convert these negative events into something positive, because you can always find something positive, some key learnings from it that you come. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger at the end of the day. So you can, but it's easy to say, of course. But I think, it's an opportunity to learn. You should look at it. At least I did.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And as you mentioned before, in your first experience, 2018, where you were describing the run section, like having a little devil on your shoulder who's telling you, "Hey, quit!" And why the heck are you doing this? And if you overcome these kind of situations, you come so strong out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think we've all have these ones in our day-to-day lives. So I think it's just to try to overcome it. And A small win is a win, and then move forward.
Yeah, right. So this year you're going to be there at the Norseman in order to spectate or to watch it?
Absolutely, because again, the atmosphere surrounding such a race is also absolutely phenomenal. And I didn't mention that why sponsoring Norseman earlier, but that's also one of the things that I loved truly and still do with Norseman. And I think triathlon in general, it's a very sharing sport. Everyone almost shares their experiences, unsolicited. People tell you, they invite you to tell you about the course, where your support should be, what your nutrition should be, what equipment you should use. It's not like people try to have secrets. And I think I love this, because this is, again, if we can get this both in personal lives as well as in business, that's how you grow. And I think no sport is this like triathlon. Another aspect actually of triathlon that I think is extremely poor at promoting is probably the most gender inclusive sport, because here women and men, they do the same distances, they often start at the same time, there is no difference, and you have to see some winners, some women that are competing close to the top of the men athletes. So I think triathlon is as far as I know, there is no other sport that is so gender equality as a tribe, but one isn't good at actually promoting that aspect of it. And again, all of this fits really good with our values: sharing, knowledge, equality, and all of these other more performance-related values.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Besides Norseman, did you do also other triathlon races yet?
I've just done one called Oslo Triathlon. It's like an Olympic distance one.
Okay.
I had to do that after my terrible swim in 2021, just to have a feeling of succeeding or finishing.
Okay, really amazing, because I can imagine that running a business, being the CEO, it's also, and it's not easy to fit the training schedule into the whole business day life. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but again, that's what I tell everyone. You have to try to build it into your life somewhat. So I mostly commute to work biking. I also sometimes take the bus in and run back home. It's a 16K one way. Wow. And or if I go travel, I always book hotels with a fitness center or bring my running shoes. So you have to, or if you're on the beach with your family, well, your swim kit doesn't take up much space, and who cares if they're laying on a sunbed and you swim for an hour? It's like, so you have to try to build it in, but of course it takes also some time. But as I mentioned previously, it's not like that's dead time for work. I think a lot all the time when I'm doing it. So unless if I'm listening to podcasts like yours. But I think you have to try to build it into your life. That's the only way you can really make it work.
Sure. And did it also, I mean, being a triathlete, did it also have a kind of influence on the rest of the family? Like they wanted to also try out?
I have not managed to do that yet. But I think that's how maybe over time when I have a 19 and a 15-year-old son, they're both very sporty, playing soccer, or my oldest is now testing out for the military this summer. So I think at least they know what sports, what performance should look like. And I'm sure that when they're also older, that they will, probably go down the same route, at least being active. And that is at the end of the day, the most important part. Everyone needs to find their own way. But staying active is definitely good for your own both physical and mental health.
Absolutely, yeah. And especially, I mean, we learned during the COVID time, many kids especially were suffering from that they didn't have that much space in order to move or to do some sports. And so now it's really important time for the kids to go out again, and rather than spending time in front of a console or playing games online or something, being out, it's so rewarding. Yeah, it's completely different.
Absolutely. And it's easier said than done. So I think that's where we parents also need to motivate and, cheer them on when they do something. And like I also tell my kids, I do not care if they score goals. Of course, I'm happy if they score a goal on the football field. The only thing that I care about is that I see that they do their best when they're out there, and that they really try to do well. And if they do, I'm happy with it. And we need to just cheer them on. And I see it helps when you're there actually doing the cheering.
Sure. One last question regarding Zalaris, because, we learned that you were hiring. I mean, during COVID, this kind of remote work became more and more popular. Are you also having job opportunities with remote jobs?
Yeah, we have, a number of our jobs, particularly in our consulting division, they are remote, they are open for remote. The ones that, where we say in our service centers doing payroll for customers are more service center jobs because of data privacy and security and so on. But the developers and the SAP consultants that don't work with, say, live payroll data, they can work from home. But we offer a full combo. If you want to work in an office, you're welcome. If you want to work from home or some other location, if you do a good job, you're also welcome.
Cool. So again, every respective link I will put into the show notes of this episode. Maybe different question, but what kind of hobbies do you have besides being a CEO of a super duper company, being also triathlete, taking part in Norseman Xtreme triathlons? What kind of hobbies have you besides that?
To be frank, I don't have many other hobbies than.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
It's trying to do my training hours, be somewhat of a family father, and with all the business commitments, that's where my focus is. Of course, I try to be with friends from time to time, but there is that's only the disadvantage of being so focused. I think friends and the volume of time with friends is probably where you have to cut something, but thus it's not that much time for other hobbies. So, but I think it's really nice to do work on my bikes, and that's the hobby. And I have a house, and it's a lot to do. So,
sure.
that's quite sufficient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hans-Peter, wow! Thank you very much for taking the time today. And that we were able to learn a lot about Zalaris, about the sponsorship of Zalaris of the Norseman Xtreme Triathlon, learning about your own triathlon Norseman experiences. And thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Marco. It was really nice talking to you. So I hope, let's keep in touch and be happy.
Absolutely.
Come back and talk about the further Norseman or whatever experiences. And if you have a chance, test out Norseman yourself. And I understand you're down in Provence, so maybe we'll have an opportunity to have a ride there once.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Provence is a good terrain, I would say, to prepare for the Norseman bike split at least.
Exactly.
And the run part would be also pretty good here, because here nothing is flat like a pancake. Yeah, it goes up and down, and so that would be kind of good preparation.
So there are no excuses. You can even find cold water there, I'm sure, if you go high enough.
Absolutely. All right, let me think about Hans-Peter. Hey, thank you very much again. Have a nice rest of the business day today.
Thank you.
As I said, let's keep in touch, and good luck for Norseman participates this year, for Team Zalaris this year. Yeah, also big respect to the Norseman crew who are organizing the race since a couple of years already. It's I would say it's a monument within the triathlon scene, and big respect to the organization crew.
Thank you. Come and join us. We'll do our utmost to support you. So
I would try. I would try that and keep you updated on that. All right. Hey, take care.
Okay. Ciao. Bye.
Ciao. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode. All the respective links, as I mentioned before, I put it into the show notes of this episode. And if you don't want to miss any further episodes of Triathlon Podcasts, simply subscribe to the podcast in respective players like Apple Podcast or others. All right. So then thank you for tuning in, and I wish you a great time until the next episode. Cheers, Marco.